Welcome to Special Guest Thursdays, where real voices bring real stories to life. This ain't just an interview. This is a spotlight on those making moves. Different paths, different struggles, different wins. But one thing in common, they showed up and leveled up. We're sitting down with leaders, creators, and game changers to talk pressure, purpose, and the mindset behind the grind. No scripts, no filters, just real. Because every guest brings gems, and every story brings power. This is the Final Boss Podcast, and this is Special Guest Thursdays. Tap in and tune up.
Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast. People, I have a great show for you tonight. This is the Final Boss Podcast. Listen, I have a great host with me. She's in the chair tonight, and I'm gonna tell you all about her in a few, right? But let me get into the front matter and the admin notes of the evening. But you know what? Let me introduce her, right? Her name is LONESHIA Shelton, right?
Correct.
Shelton or Walker? Shelton. Walker?
Yeah.
Shelton. All right, LONESHIA Shelton, right?
Yay.
Got LONESHIA Shelton on board tonight. Listen, man, it's going to be a great night. I have a great show for you guys. She has a plethora of information. She's doing a lot of things for the community and her sorority, but we're going to get into that right after I get into these admin notes, right? First, look, if you haven't gotten All Aboard the Fired Up Train, you see it on display. Go get it, right? Go get All Aboard the Fired Up Train. Go time All Aboard the Fired Up Train. It's my first book. It is an Amazon bestseller. Make sure you go pick it up. And also like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. The content, man, I appreciate you guys. Look, if you want to get your emails and your questions answered, please continue to send them to the email at info@thefinalbosspodcast.com. That's info@thefinalbosspodcast.com. And look, you want to see all the sites, all the different programs? Look, we're at episode number 249. 249, and I need you guys to go to our website at thefinalbosspodcast.com, all one word, to catch all past episodes. 249 episodes, right? 249. Imagine that. One episode from the mid-season, which is 250. That's happening on Sunday, episode 250. And then we're on our way to episode 300, where we start the next season, season 5, The Harvest. I'm so excited about that, man. Great things are happening with The Harvest. Now, as always, this is for entertainment purposes only. And the greeting of the day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to each and every last single one of you, no matter where you're watching from. If it's on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitch, Kick, Spotify, Twitter, StreamYard, where else? YouTube, and wherever else we are, man. Wherever else we are out there. So, look, let's get into tonight's episode, man. I have a wonderful guest host. She is LONESHIA Shelton, as I said before, right? She's the Supreme Basileus, the Sigma Phi Psi Sorority Incorporated, which is the first Greek letter sorority for women in the United States Armed Forces. Oh, man. Listen. She's the founder. She's the executive director and Empowerment Legal Services. Founder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes. It's a nonprofit law firm that's based in Washington, D.C. She's also an honorary doctorate, or doctorate, I should say. Some people try to get fancy and say directorate or directorate, you know. She's a doctorate, honorary doctorate in humanitarianism. She's the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award winner that was presented to her in 2024 by President Biden, right? She's the Marquis Who's Who recipient, and also in 2024, former captain of the United States Army, right? She has a plethora of information that we're going to be discussing tonight. And let me get rid of the banner so you guys can see exactly who she is, right? There she is. Let's give her a shout out. So, Alicia, how are you feeling?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, man, I can't complain. I cannot complain. I'm excited about tonight's episode. And, man, we're going to get into it. I know you have a lot of information that we're going to be talking about tonight. And, you know, I hope everyone, as always, enjoys the show. But look, make sure you go to, it's always a lesson, right? Get your pens, paper, notes, cell phones, because we have a message and some lessons that we're going to be discussing tonight. So let's get right into it. Let's get right into it, man. So, have you ever noticed how the people who shape the world practice carry the most weight? Not the loudest, not the flashiest, but the quietest. The ones who don't need permission, the ones who saluted before they signed up, the ones who built sisterhood for women who already wore the uniform. Tonight is rare air. Tonight, you sitting at the table with somebody who built 3 institutions before most folks finished picking up a major. Final bosses, smarts, motivators, warriors. It's time to lock in, right? The construction arc is in motion, and tonight the construction looks like a Black woman in robes, in court, in command, in covenant, right? So we have LONESHIA in the building, Master Divinity, Juris Doctor, Supreme's Basileus, right? Basileus, I'm sorry. And she's here, and we're excited to have her here, right? And this year matters. We're in the construction, right? On our way to the declaration. So, Sister Shelton, welcome to the Final Boss Podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much. I'm absolutely excited to be here. I have been watching your platform and the community you've built, and I'm excited to see how you make spaces for the marginalized and voices that are less heard. So kudos to you, and thank you very much for having me today.
You are such a joy, and thank you. And it's an honor, right? The honor is definitely shared. But, before we dig in, let me set the operation frame for the audience, right? Because if you're new to here, you're new to the show. This is Special Guest Thursdays, right? It is no fluff. We cover origin. We build. We do missions. We have legacy, right? And what we're constructing next, right, is the 3 pillars, right? The 3 pillars to the table. Signify Psi, community activism, spiritual awareness. And we're going to touch each one with weight, heavy weight, the weight that bears on heavy and big shoulders, right? And we're going to close with brass tacks. Usually brass tacks is in the beginning, right? And we have those resources that are going out to the 4 communities. So smarts, motivators, warriors, and final bosses, make sure you are locked in, right? Make sure you're locked in. So, LONESHIA.
Yes.
That sound about right?
That sounds about right. I am ready to get started, and no fluff here. So we're good to go.
All right. That's the energy that we build on this show, Smarts. We're going to lock in final bosses. I need you guys to take notes. Motivators, this is your kind of voice. Warriors, this is your kind of sister. The construction art just got an anchor tenant. We're going to pivot to the resume, right? Because credibility ain't a vibe. It's a record. And tonight's record runs deep. So, for the audience who are meeting you tonight for the first time, I want to set the table proper. You wear 3 letters that most folks don't even know exist in the same sentence, right? Dr. IV, JD, and Captain. Now walk us through how 3 pieces fit into one woman. Not the chronological timeline, that's coming later, right? But paint the picture for us. What do those credentials mean side by side?
I'd like to say that they represent who I am or who I was in that specific moment of time. Although all 3 of those things come together to make up the woman that you see sitting before you. I know we're going to get into details, but I got some good stories about how chronologically my life has played out to have me just where God is supposed to have me. So yeah, we'll get into it.
Okay. All right, people, you heard it first. So can you break down each one, or would you like for us to wait as a surprise later on?
I don't know. I don't want to get out of order, but just like, okay, so I do have a story to tell. So just
tell us the story.
Okay, a little bit. How us Black folks like to say, long story short, and it's never short, but I'm going to make it short.
It's never short, right?
I'm going to make it short. So just with the military, let's start with Captain. My story is a little bit different than everyone else's. I moved to Washington, D.C. as a military wife. My ex-husband was in the Marine Corps. So he was stationed at 8th and 9th, and I used to drive past the D.C. Armory every day. And sure enough, they had a sign out that said, "Would you like a part-time job?" And at that moment in life, I was a stay-at-home wife, and I was extremely bored. I knew that was not my future. That was not who I was called to be. And I said, yeah, I'll take a part-time job. And I can tell you from that first day, it was never part-time.
Never.
Head totally exploded, but it was the ignition. It was the fire that set me on a very amazing path for over the next 20 years of my life. To go through, to get to the MDiv, to get to the Juris Doctorate, to get to owning a law firm, to get to be the national president of the first Greek letter military sorority for women. So it really started with the military. I didn't know what to expect. I knew I liked the glitz and glamour of it from seeing what the ceremonial Marines did at 8th and 9th. That's about all I knew about the military is, it looks very, it looks very, put together and disciplined and things like that. But it wasn't until I got to boot camp that I really got the shock of what I was in for. And mind you, I was a mother of 3 at the time. So
wow.
Definitely one of the older people at boot camp, but I mean, that's the story of my life. And when we get to the end of it, if there's any one thing I can say to sum it all up is to never be afraid not to fit in, because that was me all my life. And I wasn't designed to fit in. I was designed to create the pattern. So.
Wow. Thank you for that. That was amazing. I appreciate you sharing that with us. So thank you. Thank you so much. So, thank you for the breakdown was amazing. Right? and let's talk about credentials, right? Because credentials are tools, not trophies that a lot of people think, right? They're tools. And that's the operating principle, right? Smarts, that's the lesson, right? Final bosses, that's the institution mindset, right? We step into the timeline next, year by year, build by build, starting with the year that still cuts for some of us, right? For some of us. And sit with that. Right. I want the audience to sit with that. Right. 2001. That year, it's different for some of us. I was at the Pentagon on 17th, September 11th, right? And I know exactly what that year tasted like, and it wasn't fun, right? You raised your right hand. The audience doesn't know this, but we we talked about this. You raised your right hand that same year, and you put on a uniform for the United States Army, right? Not knowing what you were truly getting yourself into. Take us back to that, right? What pulled a young woman, a mother of three, a military wife, into service in that moment? And what did the Army give you that no one else could?
So it's odd for me to explain it in the space I am now, because I can look back and understand why everything happened. But when I was in it, it was totally crazy. So to be more specific, I left for boot camp on September 17th, 2001. So that was 6 days after the attack. And I was one of the first boot camp classes to start post that era, 9/11. So we were at Fort Jackson, and everyone was on high alert and didn't know what to do. This was the first time that they put M16s in recruits' hands, meaning as soon as we're there, we're pulling patrol with a weapon we've never seen, let alone know how to use. But it's hit the ground running at this point. So that was my introduction. Like I said, I was older and I was a mother already. So the physical fitness of it was not in my wheelhouse.
Right.
Yeah. I had a struggle with that. And I tell everybody I made it out of reception by like 3 seconds on my mile run. Like I was this close to being recycled. But God, and that's another theme through my life. But God, but God, it always happens. And then bringing it back to 2026, me as who I am now, reflecting on how I entered the military, it's reflective of my life. I'm put in the most extreme circumstances. And oftentimes when I was in it, in that stage of my spiritual growth, I would ask God, why me? Like, why me? Literally, when I decide to join the military, that's when it's going to be a war and a terrorist attack. God, like I was just coming in to get my little uniform and benefits and have something to do. But now that I look back at it as the woman I am now, I see all of those circumstances as training me to be fearless. And there's really nothing, no circumstance that I come up against now that I have any doubt or fear about. And I can contribute that to God walking me through the valley and the valleys when I was younger. And that really helped to build who I am now.
Okay. All right. That's amazing. That is truly, truly amazing, right? Because, and what a hell of a time to join the military. Like, kudos to you for that at that time. You know, I tell people all the time, I say, man, I'm a Pentagon 9/11 survivor. I was there. I was down the hall from the where the plane had hit. I had two people on my team who were injured from that attack, right? So, man, I understand the headspace of people were going crazy, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knew what was going on and what was happening next. So let's talk about the oath, right? Because the oath stays, whether you're in uniform or out of uniform, right? And that's the line. And, you know, for my veterans who understand that, that's the line that separates the people in this audience who served from people who studied service. Both are honored, right? Both are valued. but the oath is its own classification. Warriors, you know exactly what she just said. Smarts, I know you guys are writing it down. The institution that grew out of the oath is up next, right? 2005, right? Sigma Phi Psi Sorority Incorporated, right? So let's talk about it. Sigma Phi Psi Sorority Incorporated, 2005. The first Greek letter sorority for women of the United States Armed Forces. Now, let's set the historical record straight. What did the landscape look like in 2005 when you decided this institution needed to exist? And what was the founding actually like?
So I am actually the national president, which is the Supreme Basileus. The sorority has 8 founders. We call them the Enlightened 8. So they founded the sorority in 2000. It was incorporated in 2001. So at the same time as our nation is going through what we were going through, these group of phenomenal women were getting together and creating a foundation of sisterhood for fellow military women service members. I joined in 2005, very soon after the founding, a few years after the founding. And it was a time for me where I was looking for a military sisterhood. So I went to officer candidate school. So I came into the Army in 2001. So by the time I went to OCS, officer candidate school, then officer basic to get my trade, it was around 04 or 05 that I was released to the masses as far as being a trained officer and ready to be put, to foot and do my job. Yeah. So in that mode, I began to see, of course, as many women in the military see, that it's a man's world. It really is. And you have to get in where you fit in. And so I saw Sigma Phi Psi as a way to further support me in my endeavors as a military woman by being around like-minded military women and supporting those efforts, as well. Here we are 21 years later, and I am now the national president of said sorority with the same mission in mind. For new service members and old, we have active duty, we have veterans, but the goal is to be a beacon of light for every woman military service member that we have around the world, to make sure that she's supported in the same way that I was back in 05.
Nice. You said some very profound key points in that last statement that really stood out. One, ladies and gentlemen, to my smarts, to my motivators, to my warriors, to my final bosses, look, she told me that she wasn't the founder. That was my bad. So I apologize for that gaffe. It happens, man. It happens. It's a small gaffe, but yes. But thank you for the correction. And you mentioned the military as being a man's world, right? And it truly is. And how you were able to navigate through that and find your own space is very, very commendable. So kudos to you for that. Now, 21 years from the beginning to now, the Supreme Basileus seat. That's the kind of institution building this network respects, right? That's what we do on here. Final bosses, listen, she didn't write a book about sisterhood. She built the said sisterhood, right? Built it, past tense, present infrastructure, future legacy, right? And we're going to get deeper into Sigma Phi Psi operations next. So the operations matter because the beginning was the first act. Running a national sisterhood is another. So Supreme Basileus. For the audience who doesn't know the Greek letter language, that's, my friends, is the top seat, right? The presidential office of the sorority. And what does that role actually demand day by day. It's fascinating, right? And what's the current mission set for Sigma Phi Psi under your leadership? Talk about it.
So right now we're in a posture of community service and recruitment. Those are our two big goals this year, and for probably a few years to come. Given the current state of our nation, we chose to focus in on community service and recruitment because times are uncertain. I mean, they absolutely are, if we want to be frank. And we want to make sure that our community is in a good place to survive, say things hit the fan. So
exactly.
Community service and team building as far as food pantries, having food storage for ourselves, water for ourselves, having a communication line where we know, okay, this soror is a doctor, this soror is a nurse, this soror is a police officer, this soror is a lawyer, and having that intricate system of help throughout the sorority in case any sister needs it. So, and of course you need bodies to fulfill those objectives. So recruitment is a big thing as well. But I think that the community, the veteran community as a whole, is looking for a home like this in these uncertain times where veterans benefits are being challenged, veterans programs are being challenged, as well as other government helps. So we seek to be, you know, that community foundation that people can depend on when all else fails.
Exactly. These times are challenging, and these times are very unpredictable. So building that network, you know, infrastructure within the community, within your organization, right? That's what's needed. And we need more of it, right? And it's not necessarily about quantity because you're doing your recruitment. It's about quality because you name some very specific target occupations in that, right? Quality over quantity, right? Because succession is built from day one. And it sounds like that's what you've been doing since day one. As you mentioned earlier, God in your statement, faith as fuel, not a flag. Smarts, that's executive leadership in 3 sentences. Motivators, I need you to write that down for your own building. Now we're going to pivot a second, right? Because in 2017, while she was running a national sorority and leading sisters, she walked into law school. Oh boy, right? And most folks would have called that enough is enough. She called it incomplete. And for all of those who are out there, you guys who are part of the Smarts community, the Final Boss community, the Motivators community, and my Warriors community, you know what my next objective is. I'm getting my doctorates in philosophy and artificial intelligence. So I understand. Law school, though? Man. So let's talk about 2017. Let's talk about the law school. Because by that point, you've already been a captain in the Army. You founded it. Well, you were you became president of a national sorority. You built community for over a decade. What made you walk into law school in 2017? And how did the Masters of Divinity conversation happen alongside it?
So it's beautiful to look back at the web that was heavenly spun for my life, because to me, in the moment, I I felt I'm a go with my gut, go with my spirit type of person.
Okay.
Ever since I was a child, I never felt like there was something I couldn't do. I didn't know what to attribute that to. Of course, now I say, but God, but there was something that was put in me at birth that makes me feel like I can just do it. I don't know what it is, but if it's on my mind, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. But I say that to say this: when I was deployed to Guantanamo Bay, I met another heavenly meeting. I met a fellow captain who also was from Chicago, which is my hometown. And she was a lawyer in the Air Force. And I had to work with her as a military police officer, but I also was in charge of the ICRC, the International Red Cross and Red Crescent for the detainees. So we had to work very closely together to ensure that their legal rights were not being violated. And I had let her know in our talkings together that I always wanted to be a lawyer. Like ever since I was little, like watching the Cosby Show, like I was like, oh, I want to be the lawyer and I'll find a doctor as a husband. But I really wanted to be a lawyer. And she looked at me and she said, well, why haven't you? And I said, you know what? You're right. So from Guantanamo Bay, I submitted applications to law school, and I also signed up to take my LSAT. Mind you, while all of this is going on, I still have a degree I have to go get, which is from Howard University Divinity School. So I finished that before being deployed to Gitmo, but the graduation was actually while I was deployed. And gracefully, my commander let me fly home on a pass so that I could graduate Divinity School. So now I'm in Guantanamo Bay. I have my Master's of Divinity from Howard University, but I'm already thinking what steps are next. And so once I got back, I ended up in the Wounded Warrior Unit at Fort Belvoir. And of course, you still need a job to do while you're there and while you're injured. So I asked my commander, can law school be my job? And he said, of course. And so I started law school while I was at Fort Belvoir Wounded Warrior Unit. And right as I was transitioning out of Fort Belvoir, I was graduating law school. And I always knew that law for me was less about being in a courtroom and more about being my ministry. And it's all going to tie together, but I feel in certain stages of my life, I have been running from my calling. So I can say, when I was a captain in the military, I was a military police officer. That's because my criminal justice degree, it seemed easier to do that than to actually go to law school, which I knew I was called to do. But eventually it happens. I learned my lessons. I'm here. And
on God's time.
On God's time. And then after I graduate with my MDiv, I know I have a calling on my life, and I'm wishy-washy. Is it preaching? Is it this? Is it that? So then I tell myself, law is my ministry, and I go to law school. And that's how I've executed it. That's where my nonprofit law firm was birthed from, to be more of a community of help versus just, take me to the courtroom or ambulance chaser. I believe in holistic help. So people would come to me, mostly veteran community immigrants is what I work with. So they'll come to me with a legal issue, but we looked at the person as a whole, because we know that legal issues are born out of something else, whether it's financial, whether it's mental health, whether it's domestic violence, whatever the issue is, the legal issues are born out of something else. So we try to help the something else so that we can have a positive outcome for the legal issues. And so, with that, the MDiv is still a ... Who knows where I'm going to be in 2030, but I think that's the one chapter that hasn't been written yet. Am I going to preach in somebody's church or not? I don't know. We'll see.
And that's interesting. You said something else that I know that stood out to me. And as you were talking about your ministries, becoming a lawyer, right? That's still God's work. That's the Lord's work, right? Not all of his work needs to be inside of a church or a chapel, right? I say all the time.
Most of his work should not be inside.
Exactly.
Most of the work should be happening outside of those.
Outside, right? I tell people all the time, you know, I talk to my mom and I talk to my aunt, who you know and love, Dr. Colonel.
Yes.
I said, you know, the podcast is serving as ministries because I feel like I was called and I've always felt like I had a voice. And I was called to be in this chair right here, putting this message out. Right now, we have over 350,000 followers and growing on multiple platforms, right?
Awesome.
And thank you. And that's exactly the footprint that the community needs, right? People need to understand that the work is outside. The work is outside, right? So thank you for sharing that. And, you know, kudos to whoever your captain was that allowed you to graduate. Let's give them a shout out, right? Let's give a shout out to them. Let's give a shout out to Howard University. Let's give a shout out to you mentioned somebody else, the lawyer, right? Now, see, the lawyer who you were working with while you was at Gitmo, they gave you the most substantial advice that anyone can give. And it's like a military talk, right? You talk to your military brother and your sisters, and you ask them a question. They're going to give it to you in a definitive manner. They're going to give it to you right there. Why aren't you?
Yeah.
Why aren't you? You know what I mean? Man, you can't beat that.
Yeah,
you can't beat that, right? And that just gives us the know-it-all to move forward. Because that's what the military is on. We move forward, man. We move forward to the mission, and that was the mission. And speaking of mission, you know, you made time for the mission when it was time to go after those credentials, right? And that right there is the line, people. That's the principle. Smarts, that's the doctoral mindset right there. Motivators, that's work ethic translated into one sentence. The JD became the foundation for your next build. 2019, Empowerment Legal Services, the nonprofit law firm she founded in our capital city. That's what's next, right? That's what's next. So let's talk about Empowerment Legal Services, right? Founded in 2019, correct?
Correct.
Okay. In Washington, D.C., it's a nonprofit law firm. Now, take us inside the founding of that. Why this model? Why this name? And who walks through those doors? And you guess what? I might be a client. I have something big that I need to talk to you about, man. Actually, it's 3 items. Let me write those down. So tell us about that. Who walks through those doors?
So once I see something, I'm like, yeah, I can do that. So after 2017, I did an internship with AARP, Legal Counsel for the Elderly, and I was over their Veterans Project program. And that arm of AARP, Legal Counsel for the Elderly, is actually a nonprofit. And so this is where I got my knowledge of nonprofit, is just by working there. I'm always inquisitive. So to me, going to work is not, oh, let me go do my job. No, I want to know what my boss does. I want to know what the person adjacent to me does. I want to know what my boss's boss does. And once I start putting the puzzle pieces together, I said, I can do this and cut all the red tape out. And so, in 2019, I founded Empowerment Legal Services. And it started off as, a law firm that I funded myself, basically with my VA disability check. So that was my small beginnings. And I just took clients by going to the VA medical center to get clients. A lot of it was word of mouth, you know, some traffic from my website and things like that. But that's really where I started. And in 2022, I believe, after I had gotten, you know, the metrics underneath me, after I had got the experience underneath me, now that I can present my business with some qualitative, you know, data, I decided to start applying for grants. And what's a full circle moment is one of the grants that I applied for was the grant that used to fund the Veterans Project at AARP. And now I'm the recipient of that. So I went from working under the grant to the grant working for me. And so that was a awesome full circle moment to be in that place, you know, from my own work. And to be a competitor with someone as large as AARP, you know what I mean? Yeah. My little self, you know, little girl from Chicago, and I made it, but that was like a full circle moment for me. And I decided to focus on veteran law and immigration law because after law school, I didn't rush right in to take my bar because I was already working the intern program. And so I said, well, how can I do this? The VA had already authorized me to be legal representation. And then the Department of Justice had authorized me to be legal representation. So I said, yeah, let me just start the business. Because I'm not a person that puts things off waiting for all the pieces to be together. I move when, you know, it's on my spirit to move and that I have all of the factions to move. So we really focused initially on veterans law and immigration law. Then the program grew, my grants grew, and I was able to hire barred attorneys under me to execute, to be able to actually go to court. Like if one of our veterans got charged with vagrancy or, you know what I mean, loitering, you know, the things that happen, especially with our homeless veterans. Now we can not only, you know, work on their veteran benefits, we can work on their criminal cases, work on getting them housing. It's just a real holistic look is what Empowerment Legal Services seeks to do with everyone that comes through our doors. We had a grant under the mayor's office on LGBTQ affairs, which was one of their violence grants. That grant is very near and dear to my heart because we dealt with a lot of people who experienced violence based on who they are. And actually being that emergency call for some people and for them to trust me enough to call, you know, me, it was a very big not burden, but it was a responsibility on my shoulders that I took with great honor and integrity and love doing every minute of it. But currently in 2026, we are still mostly focusing on veteran law and immigration law, again, with the state of our society, our country right now. Those are very big things. And recently I was doged. Elon Musk considered me DEI. So my grant funding was snatched, and I was told that I was no longer qualified for the grant that just the year before I was the number one, voted the number one business. So much so that they wrote to request funding from Congress based off of my business template, you know, to come to 2025 and, oh, you're a woman and you're Black and you're disabled, you're no longer qualified. But one monkey has never stopped no show. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So my focus now is really on inter-community building to where we can have that same financial structure and financial help coming from the community, us helping each other versus us having to depend on Big Brother to make things happen.
Exactly. Building a community that's parallel and adjacent to what they're doing so we can offer our communities services, enrichment, and empowerment without them having to go to Big Brother, right? Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's right there That is what you call a receipt, right? That is a receipt. Look at it. Look at what she just said. Are you paying attention? Right? Talk is one thing. Practice is the verdict. Final bosses, that's what an institution looks like at 6 years of operation. It's built on a model the market wasn't going to build for you, right? And we're going to pivot next to the second of your 3 passion pillars, community activism. You mentioned community throughout our conversation thus far, right? Because activism has been weaponized as a word. And what we're going to do tonight, we're going to reclaim that word, and we're going to reclaim it proper, right? We're going to reclaim it proper. So, community activism. The second passion topic you brought to this conversation. The word activism has been twisted in our culture. Performance, hashtags, quick photo ops. What does community activism mean in your practice, your sorority, and your daily walk?
I think community activism is more of an active day-to-day posture. It's not something where, oh, today we're picketing and then tomorrow we're going back to, what we've done, as is. It's more of a day-to-day making sure yourself and those around you, i.e. your community, are prepared to face the challenges that life has to offer at any given time. I often encourage people to create mini pockets in their own society, like at least you, your neighbors, and your closest cousins and your mother,
right,
mother and father should have a networking system where, if something like 9/11 happened, we're meeting at this house. This person has the generator. This person is bringing the water. This person is bringing the food. And that's more of a, extreme emergency. You need to have that network, but you also need to have that network for success. Who do you have around you that can show you things you did not know, that can introduce you to people you did not know, that can teach you things that you do not know? Keeping those type of people around you. I think a lot of people get defeated because their circle is stagnant. You're still with the same people you were with 20 years ago. And that's not to say, lose friendships at all, of course. But if you are not continuously uplifting your circle and striving for new heights, you're not going to get to where you want to go. A lot of people say, if that's where you want to be, then you need to surround yourself with people who are already there. I truly believe in that. And I think people don't understand how much business is conducted just in a room over coffee and 2 people talking, and next thing you know, you have a contract.
Absolutely. Yep.
I think a lot of times people are waiting for things to come to them. You really have to get out there on faith and just make it happen. You know what I mean? And I tell people there is no failure. If you showed up 5 times and 4 of those times failed, but that one time got you that, then that's a success. That's a success. Yes, I don't even look at failure as a negative in my that's just an opportunity to try.
It's a lessons, operational lessons. Yeah.
For sure. Readjust, fire, and try again. But
absolutely. Readjust and fire. Listen, lock in, people. Lock in, right? You mentioned a couple of things, man, that again, that stood out, right? Community, networking, right? Empowering others, auditing your friendships and trying to leverage them to elevate, right? Sometimes, in my book, I speak of not losing friends and family, but finding new friends and family to elevate. And then you take the information that has helped you elevate and you pass it on to the friends and families to try to uplift them or those who want to, because not everybody wants to get elevated.
Absolutely.
That's something that I've learned, right?
Absolutely.
Some people like it where they are, because comfort, and I say this all the time, comfort is the enemy of progress, right? There's people out there that love to be comfortable, right? But we have to put actions, and what you're doing is putting actions and actions into the community, right? Actions into your mission, right? And you're speaking and doing both. And that is exactly what we're going to call this. The whole sermon is done, right? That's what we're going to call this, the sermon, right? And it's those 4 words: speak and do. You do both, and let that be the standard, right? Warriors, that's the order. Motivators, that's the work ethic translated to civic life. Smarts, that's a research thesis disguised as plain talk, right? We talk and we touch the 3rd pillar, which is next. We're going to talk and touch on it, right? Spiritual awareness, the deeper well, because everything we just covered only sustains if the well underneath it is real. So let's get into it. So, spiritual awareness, the 3rd passion you brought to the table, right? The Masters in Divinity, the well underneath everything else. Talk to the audience about what spiritual awareness means to you in practice and why it's non-negotiable for the work that you do.
I think spiritual awareness is the basis of my success. And I say that not lightheartedly and not churchy and not full of rhetoric. Like, spiritual awareness is really the basis of my success. I went to Howard Divinity School, and just as an explanation, Divinity School is not Bible college. There's a difference. Most pastors, especially in the Black tradition, go to some form of Bible college before they become preachers. There are some denominations, like my denomination, African Methodist Episcopal Church, where you actually have to have a Master of Divinity to serve in the pulpit. A Master of Divinity is a study of all religions. So that's where my journey starts. My chosen religion is Christianity, but I wanted to learn about all religions because it is my personal opinion that God is not so small that he only made his words heard to us few, meaning Christians. I believe that he is able to speak through all of the religions and to those, who abide by them. And I really believe that I am put here, of course, to be the best human that I can be while I'm here. I really believe that I am a spiritual being having a physical experience here on earth. And in order for me to be successful, I need to be in tune with whom I call my creator. And so I feel that opening up myself, some people call it your soul, your mind, your spirit, but just opening up myself to hear what the creator has for me has been the key, the lock and key to my success. It allows me not to move because I'm scared. It allows me not to make rash decisions just because the money got funny. It allows me to dream big because there's nothing that is impossible for my God. So how is there something impossible for me? It allows me to hold my tongue when I may be angry or furious about how I was doged or how I was treated in a certain way. And it allows me to, instead of getting angry, take that energy and focus on what's the next plan after this plan. Because if this door was closed, surely there's a bigger door that's about to be open. It's allowed me to stay happy in my success. The ups and the downs. When my business, the grants were pulled from my business, of course, I wasn't happy about it, but no air and no energy was taking taken out of my project or taken out of, my claim to stake as what I'm here to do. So I really feel that having that spiritual awareness and that spiritual grounding, a certainty about what I'm called to do on this earth and who has called me to do it has really been the key to my success.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. Man. Thank you for sharing. Now, what time is it? We got about 6 minutes. We may go over. I know time goes by so fast when you're having a great time, right? You thank you for sharing your spiritual journey, man. Motivators, smarts, final bosses, smarts. I already said smarts, right? Listen, we're in the final boss arc 4, season 4, right? The construction arc of the rebirth, right? The rebirth, right? And LONESHIA telling us about her spiritual walk, faith, and what it means to her and how it guides her. Listen, let that be your frame. Period. Full stop, right? Let that be your frame, right? You need God. Let God be the frame, right? That is straightforward, and I can't say it any other way, right? Listen, through this conversation, we did a few things. We cleared the noise. We laid the foundation. Now, we're going to build a little bit, right? Because this is this construction art. What are you constructing right now in the next 24 months of Sigma Phi Psi? Your empowerment legal services and for your own personal mission.
So I am just really looking to grow and strengthen every facet of business or community that I am in. Okay. With the sorority, I want us to be literally worldwide. I want, if a sister is deployed, she has another sister in Japan, in Korea. I want for empowerment legal services, I really just want the same. I want to really be able to help the marginalized and those that are looked over in real time. There's a lot of bureaucracy in our government assistance programs, or even in nonprofit assistance programs. It's a big rat wheel. This one person will refer you to this person, will refer you to this person, and then that person says, I don't have it. Exactly. That has not been the vision for empowerment legal services. And we really look to bring help to the community in a real way that is not, chasing the carrot, but what do you need and what can we do right now to put you on that path to get there?
Got it. Man, thank you. And the audience knows when I do this, you better take some notes. Man, it's been a pleasure and it's such a joy to have you, man, on the show, right? But we talking about construction. You're building still, right? And I'm gonna say this. That right there is the close. It's the close before the close. We got we're coming to a close, right? So lock in, ladies and gentlemen. Right? Lock in. Sigma Phi Psi worldwide. Empowerment legal services worldwide, right? And tonight we have her on our show, speaking her truth, right? Sister Shelton. Now, I know everybody's been waiting for the brass tacks, so the brass tacks is about to come, right? And we're going to talk about how we close every episode on this network with one quote, one line, and then it's locked in, right? So, drop it for the audience for us, right?
It's on me, the quote?
Yes. Yes.
I have one.
Okay. All right.
So, because I had it as just my last thing to say, but I would always say, and I always tell people, do not fear, just do it and be the David for every Goliath.
Oh boy, that's loaded. Love it. Be the David for every Goliath. Man, that's amazing. And that speaks truth to your entire mission, right? That speaks truth to your entire mission. Now, for the brass tacks of the show, right? Here it is. Make the world a better place. One person, one interaction at a time. That is the entire mission. Everything else is logistics. Build accordingly, right? Build accordingly. And that's the lock. That's the line. That's the standard. Final bosses, that's the operating system. Smarts, that's the philosophy in one breath. Motivators, that's the fuel. Warriors, that's the order. And before we close, can you give the audience some resources where they can find Sigma Phi Psi? And where do they find Empowerment Legal Services? Also, where do they find you?
I know. Well, you can always find me through Empowerment Legal Services, but for Empowerment Legal Services, very simple, empowermentlegalservices.com and Sigma Phi Psi, also very simple, sigmaphisci.org. So,
All right. Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, right? This has been episode 249. Locked in, man. Locked in, right? We have my sister, LONESHIA Shelton, right? Masters in Divinity, JD, Supreme Basileus, Captain, Presidential Honorary, right? The first Greek letter sorority for armed forces women, right? Going worldwide, right? The non-profit law firm in our beautiful city, the decades of service, one person, one interaction at a time. Final bosses, smarts, motivators, warriors. Stay locked in. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you drop us comments in the chat and bring somebody with you next time. The construction continues. Season 4, the rebirth arc for the construction moves and marches forward. 2050 is on deck, and that's on Sunday, right? And that is on Sunday for Sitting Down Sunday, right? Look, man, I'm so excited. Look, we got it. Don't you go nowhere, because after we close, we're going to talk offline, and we're going to further this conversation. And hopefully we have you back on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the show. And look, if I don't see you, remember, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This has been episode 249. And remember this, people, there's always a heavy pain that comes with discipline, but there's an even heavier pain that comes with regret, right? I am here. We are here. And as always, be balanced, be equal, and most importantly, be smart. That's our show for tonight, man. That is our show. LONESHIA, don't you go nowhere. Thank you for coming on board. Oh, boy, man, this has been awesome. See you guys on Sunday.
They thought it was over. They thought the fire burned out. But fire doesn't destroy the chosen. It forges them. Hosted by Turbo, the CEO. New energy, new strategy. Every setback builds strength. Every loss builds strategy. And every leader rises again. The rebirth begins. Season 4. Bigger conversations. Real strategy. Power moves only. Monday motivation. Tech Tuesday. Merger Wednesday. Special guest Thursdays, sit down Sundays. Season 4 starts now. Tap in or get left behind, because bosses don't wait, they lead.